host, Ray.
And I'm Evy.
And today we're looking at Loki, another streaming service from Disney Plus. It's probably the third streaming series from Disney after Winter Soldier and WandaVision. Well, let's start off by saying the trailer that came with this was a big puzzle box. Watching the trailer, you wouldn't get a sense of what this series was. Would you agree with that remark?
I would. You don't know where it came from, why, what it was about until maybe after maybe the first show of it.
Right.
Because you don't know who Loki is. It's not until maybe the second episode whose brother it is or whatever. It was all right. It was all right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the movies?
I thought this series was awesome. I liked the fact that the whole the trailer, basically, other than the morphing letters, which meant nothing to me at the time, and all the quick cuts because there was so much content, but it was in no context. Made basically with a guffin, a puzzle box. So the only thing we did know was basically the events that happened in Endgame, and that's how we were going into it, because we knew it took place when Loki escapes in 2012.
Yeah.
Sure. And it was done through the time heist in Endgame, which means he now becomes an anomaly, a time variant, as they refer to it as.
Right. Yeah.
Because for those who watched Endgame, once you alter the course of events, you create alternate possibilities, and you get a chain reaction of events, right? When the Hulk was talking to the Ancient One, that little scene there, you're getting an alternation of the timeline. So him escaping and changing the future or potential future they had to stop it. So that's what the idea of the TVA is, the Time Variant Agency. This was cool because the first episode explains it all to you. We understand that he learns too, and at the time, at the speed in which we are learning that what happened, which version of Loki are we dealing with? We're dealing with Loki before Dark World, and he learns that he has no future. He sees his fate. He sees how it all ends out. Which can be looked at as a luxury. If you know how it's going to end for yourself. Right, and also he learns that he is the cause of many harm, like the loss of his mother. He was indirectly responsible for that, and also he sees the death of his father, or adopted father. So and also his own personal demise and how it affects the people of Asgard with Ragnarok. So he's able to see that from a perspective what it reminds me of, Judgment Day, Terminator 2. When they go after Miles Dyson, trying to kill the man before Skynet is born.
I remember that.
Right, and so it's not his fault. He didn't know what was going to happen, but you're judging him before it happens, right? So that is where I look at it in terms of its familiarity to it.
Cool.
And then once the reveal of why they need him is really, really cool, and how that plays out, and then the reveal of the variant that they're tracking down, it's just kind of cool. And his purpose this establishes his purpose outside of the time frame. So I thought it was really interesting. It reminded me, for me, I'm going to say for my double feature though, it reminds me of a movie called Time and Again, whereas you have H.G. Wells and Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper takes a hold of his time machine and goes back.
Yeah.
And H.G. Wells is the only person who knows who he is and tries to restore order. Because Jack the Ripper is, of course, one of the most notorious killers of all time. So it had that kind of feel. It had that kind of setup. I mean, the execution of the movie is a '70s movie, so it's not the same. But in terms of the concept, Jack the Ripper goes back in time. H.G. Wells, the godfather of science fiction, is the only one there who can stop it. So it kind of has that kind of on a paper level in terms of the title, they give you a description of what it's about, which is not the case. The feel and the atmosphere of where it's going is what that represents to me. How about you? What is your double feature for this film? What film or series would you say really exemplifies this series?
It's like what do you call Tom Cruise one called Die, Repeat.
Oh, Edge of Tomorrow.
That was good. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that because the day kept going on. Kind of like a Groundhog kind of movie where everything happens this every day. So it was okay. It was good. How the movie kind of flows too, like what happens after something happens, it happens over again, but then goes into what's going to happen later, and the main person in it kind of doesn't know he's responsible for everything, although he doesn't know it. I thought it was really good. Special effects were good too. I'd give that a maybe 8.5 if it was my opinion.
No, yeah, I give it a solid 8 too. 8.5. Yeah, it's like an A. The special effects in here is really cool, but I just think it's as crazy as this sounds. This is the most clear-sighted and intellectually sound. Like everything was clear. Like I understood like the idea of like how to hide from a time variant. I understood like, okay, why is he here? What is his purpose? What the time variant is, and then basically like every step of the way where this goes, it actually makes a lot of sense. Eventually. And this was something that it surprised me because of how good it was. It was really compelling. Whereas you might get an episode that was maybe let's say WandaVision that might be kind of like, well, it's a half hour, but it was kind of like maybe not that exciting. This was engaging. It's like especially the first 2 episodes because you're like, what is going on? But they're explaining itself to you, and it was so much fun. And some of the comedic timings for this guy, like when he's in Pompeii, 79 A.D., just before the explosion of the island. So and how funny and how happy he is when all throughout all the destruction. So it's kind of an odd duck, but it works, and it's surprising how well it works. And with that, I would give it. I would love to give it a 10 out of 10. But I mean, I haven't seen the final 3 episodes, but for the first 3, right from the gate, it's clear-minded. There's a clear direction. I understood perfectly what was going on as his character was learning too, and it didn't. It treated the audience or the viewer with a great deal of intelligence, and you felt really good on this ride. So I thought that was superb for writing and for just Tom Hiddleston giving the performances he does. I just think it's great. So solid.
It was good. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I'm Ray.
And I'm Evy.
We'll talk to you next week. All right.